requires the equivalent of nearly 2 Earths in terms of resources. And if the trend continues, we will need 3 Earths by 2050. Put it in another way, unsustainable consumption and production is the main cause of the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. This has to change. In 1992, the first attempts were made at the international level at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. What you might have heard was called the Earth Summit. Member states adopted the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, which called on states to reduce and eliminate unsustainable patterns of production and consumption. They also created very important principles that guide today our international architecture that governs the international environment. For example, the polluter pay principle and other important principles that guide and promote international cooperation and responsibilities in the degradation of the global environment. Yet, real
Globalization is dead, killed by the rise of China, the supply chain catastrophe, the COVID pandemic, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the fact that free trade often served only the financial elites. This is what Bob Kuttner says in the current Global Goals Yearbook. You may or may not agree with this gloomy position taken by Bob Kuttner in the current Global Goals Yearbook. But one thing is for sure. The future will not be a continuation of the past. What should the next trading system be? Who will have the competence to solve problems in the Anthropocene? Does multilateralism work in a multipolar world? What are the implications for the 2030 agenda? This is what we are going to discuss in the next 2 hours. A technical note: if you have questions during the discussion and would like to ask the panelists, please use the chat function on your browser. Email us at mail@macondo-foundation.org. We are collecting your questions and will try to respond to as many as possible. Today's moderator is someone who is kind of a veteran of the Global Goals Forum. Richard Roberts was with us last time, and it's good to see you again, Richard. He has a lot of experience in journalism, even more experience in sustainability, and also an interest in opera and music. Robert, that's good. So, together with your guests, you can explain to us why we're hearing so much dissonance and discord out there in the world right now. But before that, we'll hear a keynote from Michael O'Sullivan, who will talk about the key challenges of globalization. Mike is the author of The Leveling: What's Next After Globalization. He says that one problematic factor is that there is no central body or authority to shape future globalization. More on this now from Michael O'Sullivan in his keynote address. Afterwards, he will also take part in the panel discussion. First Mike, then Robert. The floor is yours.
Hello, it's a pleasure to have the privilege to address the Global Goals Forum. My thesis, very, very simply put, is that globalization is over. This is an incredibly urgent development in world affairs, in economics, and that the world order effectively over the next 10 to 15 years is passing from this era of extraordinary peace and prosperity to something new. And what I'll try and do maybe in the next 20-25 minutes is give you some reasons for why I think globalization is coming asunder, where we're going, and what the potential end point is.
Our children and grandchildren will live better than we do, is a common familiar phrase. And in this phrase lies an unshakable faith in progress. In most of our societies, this progress is inevitably associated with growth and resource consumption. At the beginning of the 1970s, this belief in progress was very widespread. Humanity had traveled to space and put a man on the moon. Nuclear power plants were being built to supply the energy of the future. And a few American tinkerers were developing the first home computer in a garage. And precisely at this time, a book appears that said in its core